Now we're going to talk about how to create a safety plan. This is something that I wish, and I usually try to tell all my clients, and to anticipate that the worst could happen. Some people need this more than others. Some other people have the green cards and they just feel a little scared. And so I wouldn't directly tell them how to create a safety plan. But for other people, or if you have a friend or something that is just very afraid, this might help them to diminish that fear. So how to create a safety plan just basically says, in case I am detained, what can I do to leave my family members a little bit more secure, or what can I do to make sure that they're able to represent me faster, or they, meaning your attorneys or my family members, can help me out faster. So number one is always to memorize the name and the numbers of your emergency contacts. Most of us nowadays, we don't memorize the numbers to our family members. I could not tell you my mom's cell phone number. So I anticipate that you don't know your family member's cell phone number. So make sure that you memorize that. Make sure that you have a safety person, meaning if you don't have that spouse, if you don't have that parent, make sure that you know your sister's number, the full address, their full name, and their cell phone number of where they're most likely to be contacted. That's huge, number one. Number two, always make plans for any younger children that you might have at home, especially if they're under the age of 18. Always leave in case I'm not home by 9 or in case I'm not home by 10. Always, you want to talk to your kids to say, if something were to ever happen to me, make sure that you contact your aunt so-and-so, or make sure you always call this person to let them know I'm not home by 10, so they can start either looking for me or take care of you. Meaning you have to have a safety plan to also let the aunt know, or whoever your safety person will be. So in case I'm missing, make sure that A, you come pick up my kids at home, or B, my kids will go to you. So that's huge. I've heard a lot of family members with horror stories of their parents or their kids never coming home and not knowing for about 3-4 days. So that's huge. Always create a safety plan as to what would happen to your kids or to your wife. The third thing is always keep all your immigration documents safe. This means any entry documents that you may have, any deportation orders that you may have in the past, any criminal documents that you may have in the past, or any recent fingerprints. Or if you have seen an attorney, make sure that you have all your receipt notices available to one of your family members. I get cases where there's a certain person detained, and when I visit them in jail, they tell me, oh, my brother in Utah has my documents, or my sister located in Texas has my documents, but my wife doesn't, or my kids don't. That is a huge error. Make sure that A, your sister from Texas has them, and then B, have copies for your wife and for your kids. And always let them know, if something like this were to ever happen, my documents are in a yellow folder underneath my bed or in a safe. Here's a code. Make sure that one of your family members always has documents. The most essential documents to always have, like I said, are any documents related to immigration in the past, and two, any documents that prove that you've been here in the United States for as long as you have. So that means taxes, bank stubs, bank accounts, car titles, if you own a home, anything that puts you in the United States, make sure that you have documents on that. If you have children, make sure that you have in advance copies of their birth certificates. This is another area where we usually fall victims to. We don't have any of those documents. I never thought that I would need them. That's a huge one. If you feel like you're not comfortable with where your immigration status is, that's huge. Go get copies of your kids' birth certificates. If you're no longer with your partner, please request a copy as soon as you can. Marriage certificates, if you don't have them, if you misplaced them, make sure that you have a clear copy of those. Divorce decrees, that's another thing. Make sure that if you are divorced and you have gotten remarried, that you have all that information readily available. Because if your family member is forced to consult with an attorney as you're being detained, the number one question that your attorney will have for your spouse is, do you have his or her documents? And If I get a blank stare, it's usually a lot more complicated. You're paying a lot more money because now the attorney has to go out of their ways to subpoena the documents for immigration or to request these documents as this person is detained. So that's really huge. And also I invite family members to just talk about immigration in your homes. Talk to your children. Talk to your spouses. Some of the clients that I see, their spouses don't really know what's going on. They marry, but they really don't talk about immigration. And I think now it's an area that we're forced to talk about. And what I mean by that is be honest with your partner about the falls of what you have or the faults of immigration that you have. If you have an order of deport, make sure that you notify your spouse or your children. That way it's not such a huge impact if something were to happen. We were all taught, or we all spoke about it at the dinner table. The least that you speak about it, the more of an impact it becomes when it does happen. So we have to be ready. The other, and lastly, is a lot of people have been contacting me about power of attorneys. And then what that means is basically an attorney says, should this parent be gone, the attorney or somebody else can make the legal decisions on my kids. I think that's very important, especially with how difficult the times are. If you're interested in something like that, you can contact us, and we are doing the power of attorneys in our office at this point, just given the circumstances. And I hope that this information is very important to you. If you have more in-depth questions about how to create a safety plan, you're more than welcome to message me. I think this is a very sensitive topic, so I understand if you don't want to comment on the comment section of the clip, but you're more than welcome to comment privately, so I can address any issues that you may be having. If it's a very complicated question that requires a lot of explanation, I will most likely contact you personally and set you up for an appointment so I can dedicate the time and answer every single question that you may have. I get a lot of messages on Facebook, and that's great because it takes very little effort. Sometimes you don't want to make that full committed call, and most of the time it leads into a full consultation. So I invite you to do that. Don't reserve your questions. If you don't want to make it public, again, you can privately message me and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.